And now, we're going to call out the engines. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you're having fun. The engines are quite splendid, and they're eager for a run. All the branches have slept and the lines are clean from the branch line to the main. It's a very special day, a very special day.
Aha.
Hello.
Now it works. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Percy?
I'm good. I'll take these off now.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today about this.
That's okay. Where are you in the world?
Australia.
Oh, you're in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess to start off the interview, tell us a bit about yourself, Percy.
But about myself, well, I guess you would have known me from acting in the Thomas the Tank Engine. I'm a musician as well. I worked in acting for years and ended up going to Disney in France just for a year to play some music and just kept on doing that. So when I did Thomas the Tank Engine, I took time off away from Disney.
Oh,
so yeah. They were cool for that. I did that twice.
Yeah.
Then went back to play music and stuff.
How did you get involved with the Thomas the Tank Engine tour?
I was contacted. They were looking for people to play the Fat Controller in it.
Yeah.
And I was contacted by the people writing and directing it, Ian Laughlin mainly, asking if I would come and audition for it.
Yeah.
As they were looking for obviously people of a certain size and certain physique, but who could also act and run around and stuff, which is happened a lot in that show.
What was it like rehearsing the tour and seeing the stage for the first time and the trains?
It was very impressive. Certainly the rehearsing part, all of us had to bear in mind that we were preparing something that was going to be in an enormous arena. It wasn't, small scale acting. Everything was very, very big.
Right.
And we were constantly trying to make things even bigger, and so that when people saw the show, what seemed like normal movement to us was, like I said, leaping around all over the place. So that was interesting, kind of doing things on that scale. The trains and stuff, I know you're interested in a lot of that stuff, and I was actually lucky to go to the workshop where they were being built.
Oh, wow.
I actually saw them being made, and I met the guys who were making them. It was in the BBC workshops.
Yeah.
Outside London somewhere, and it was quite funny. It was like going into this place. They were basically inventing these things.
Oh, yeah.
So the faces that moved and how they were going to be controlled and all that kind of stuff, all the animatronics and stuff, which was quite complex. And I think it was the first time they'd done anything like that. To take the idea of an animated face from a video to recreate that face that would actually move. So it had to have kind of special foam made for the faces.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I'm sure you know all this, but it was interesting to see them and be around them and see them in construction, all the bits hanging out,
Did you ever get to drive any of the trains at any point?
I didn't drive them, no. Actually, driving them was quite technical. I sat in them a few times during the show as well. I sat in one or two of them.
Oh, yeah.
And all the actors who were playing the drivers basically went on a course on how to drive these things because, as I said, they were inventing stuff. So when they first tried to use them, basically the track, as I'm sure you've seen, is just basically a kind of trough, shallow trough that they run along. There's no so much rails, not exactly rails and stuff, but so when they went on to different parts of the track, they had to find a way of making the trains actually turn onto the other bit of track. Which when they first did it, we couldn't actually make them really change direction very well. So they had to come up with this scheme of biasing the wheels making them kind of turn it slightly. And then not only doing that, but also figuring out how to make that work in reverse as well.
Nice.
So it was a simple idea that was actually quite complex to do. I'm glad I didn't have to do it.
What was it like playing the Fat Controller and going around touring the country?
Playing the Fat Controller was, I mean, it was, it made me laugh when they talked to me about it, because I was like, well, I grew up with this. When I was a child, I was a big Thomas Tank Engine fan.
Oh,
The
yeah.
old style, I had the books. And I listened to, I don't know if you've heard the records that were made by Johnny Morris.
Oh, yeah. Martin was telling me about that.
Yeah, that was a very different style to how
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
the TV show came along. It was only a guy telling the story. So all the ideas were in my mind. It was all imagination, It wasn't a video thing. But certainly the Fat Controller and all that, these are people that I'd grown up with. So it was quite interesting to do that. Although they'd had an interesting change between the previous version of the Fat Controller was quite posh, Come on, James, come on, Thomas, And then when they did the videos with originally Ringo Starr, it became northern and different.
Yeah.
So we had to change it that way. But it was certainly, I suppose, it was a privilege to do that, and quite something. It felt like I'd met one of my childhood characters.
Oh, yeah. What was the... I'm just trying to think of another question. I just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, what was your favorite part of the arena shows? Like, actually doing them?
Well, part of your last question was about what was it like touring it, and that's
yeah.
an interesting thing. Is going to all the different places. Obviously, you go to different places, and it's a huge show. I guess they had 10 trucks to take it around.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And that was quite. When it came to Down, it really was like the circus coming to town, because they came to a theatre. I guess shows normally, when they go into a theatre or arena, they'd have, I don't know, 2 or 3 trucks bringing stuff in. It depends how much they have. But with this huge set, plus each engine had its own truck, pretty much.
Oh.
So all these trucks had to be put somewhere, and they would line up and come into these arenas. So that was an event in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the fun thing about touring is going to all the different places and traveling around the country. Although sometimes you do forget which one you're in, which bit you're in, then actually doing the show is it's a test. It's a mental test as well, because some days, or most days, we're doing the show 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So you have to really concentrate and remember where you are and what's going on, especially when you're doing the 3rd show and you're thinking, haven't I just done this bit? Which can be, a little scary. But the thing I remember, I think I could say that was a favourite part. The very first time we did it to an arena full of people, we'd been rehearsing it in huge spaces and in the empty arena.
Yeah.
And then to finally do the first show to, I don't know, was it 10,000 people or something, whoever it was.
Wow.
And you first get that, maybe, I don't think it's about 10,000, and you get that first reaction when you ask them a question. You're used to like 3 or 4 people going, yes, when you're rehearsing it. Suddenly there's I don't know, 5,000 kids going, yes!
Whoa, yeah.
Wall of sound,
Oh, absolutely.
And the other thing that was fun was on the same thing, of everyone going, wow, just the sound of all those people. And then when the lights went down to like a blackout between different scenes and stuff, you'd look into the audience, and all around you would be like a starscape of all these little flashing lights of all the kids who'd got their Thomas toys with whizzing lights and stuff on them. You're like, wow, what's all that,
Jeez.
So it was interesting kind of surprises,
At the end of each show, you'd let part of the audience would be allowed onto the stage. Did you meet anyone? Did any famous people come along at all?
Yes, we had a few times when people would be brought up, would come up to visit the set and stuff. Usually people with children. There was the Prime Minister's wife, Sherry Blair, came up with their children when he was
Yeah,
small at
yeah,
one point. And a few others I can't remember. Sometimes there were people from the autistic charity also came
yeah.
quite a lot because Thomas, I don't know if you know, Thomas is a patron or was a patron part of the Autistic Society in Britain.
Oh,
As autistic children often are interested in Thomas the Tank Engine because it plays into each train has numbers, colours, they have particular jobs, what they pull, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
They're often it's a very interesting thing for that kind of mind. So we worked a lot with the autistic charities in Britain. And also sometimes you get to meet people who just come to the side and say hello and stuff. As I was playing the Fat Controller, I got to go out and see people as well,
right.
which was fun. I did some kind of publicity things as well, and I'd go and read stories to children in
Oh, wow.
bookstores and things like that as the Fat Controller, which was quite funny. So that I was lucky, and then I got to actually sort of interact with people as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a lot of fun, you know. And when you realize you get to see that the belief in the child's eyes that this is the real thing, you know. It's a precious and amazing thing, you know.
Wow,
I don't know
yeah,
what it's like for
absolutely.
you when you were a small child, but when you believe in that thing, you know, it's you're seeing the real thing. It's, you know, and it commands respect as well.
Yeah. It must have been amazing to be a kid and just go into the arena or just see you and just the scale of everything. It's like, wow, it's like really there, like it's Thomas in real life.
Well, one of the surprises was how young the children were. I think to start with, they were expecting it to be sort of 5 and 6 year olds and upwards.
Yeah.
And there were people there, a lot of them were like 3-year-olds and younger. And they were, you know, well into it as well. Luckily, there was a kind of a good fence around the set because those kids would have been on there, you know. They're like, "Get me the train!" You know, it's Thomas, and it's like, wow, it's quite something, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the thing also you had to bear in mind was that blue engine going around. He's the star. That's the star.
Yeah, you're all just a side cast.
Yeah. That's everybody else. We're just kind of, you know, part of the story, but he's the star, and the other engines too. You know.
Oh, yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. What was it like setting up every time you went to an arena? What was it like setting up the huge stage and setting up the train tracks?
That was quite. I wasn't involved in that particularly.
Ah, yeah,
but
true.
I could see it going on.
Yeah.
And they would get there. It would take a good couple of days because the set was laid down as kind of it's like big squares of track and stuff, and all would then had to be fixed together. And then the back of the set was kind of the station and the little house and stuff. And all the lighting and stuff had to be put in the roof, and you know, the helicopter as well, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a long process of getting it all in. The other thing is that the back of the set was almost as big as the front part, because sometimes the engines went off and they had to come round the back of the set to come on again. So they had to have a big turning space behind it as well. So it wasn't so much that it was cramped backstage, it was quite dangerous. You had to watch out there wasn't a Thomas coming past, you know? So they did have a back track as well, I think, that they would come around. Sometimes there wasn't always enough space; they had to kind of shove it as well. So there was a lot of people working backstage, moving the engines and setting things up. Gordon was too big to go on the track, so he would actually be pushed out and pulled back in whenever he came out to do his bits. Unfortunately, when they made him, they said he's just too big to go around the track. James was the biggest one they built. He went round.
Somehow, like he's absolutely huge.
Yeah. Well, I was there when the Guinness Book of Records came and presented. diploma, or whatever you want to call it. The James was the biggest model engine ever made,
Oh, yeah.
on the stipulation that it had to be a model engine that goes on a track and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And to do it, it's a model engine, and it's the biggest model ever made.
Oh, yeah. I've actually got the book.
Still,
I've actually got the
Oh, yeah?
book he's featured in. It's a 2004 edition.
Yeah.
What was it like giving James the award? Did they just hand James a piece of paper?
No, I think they had. There was like a sort of photo
Oh, yeah.
call, whatever you want to call it, when there's
Yeah.
the official person comes and hands the document, like a framed certificate. That's the word.
Oh, yeah.
Certificate to. I think it was Dan Coleman who got the certificate, who kind of produced it and basically made
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Ed's got a
that
copy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are photographs, I think, somewhere of them doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It was it's quite a thing, you know.
Right. There was this balcony section of the stage above where the engine shed was. How exactly did you get up there? Was it like a ladder or a set of stairs or something?
If you remember where the balcony is,
Yeah.
there's like a little bit of a house where the start of the balcony is.
Yeah.
You can see it on the photographs, which is kind of above also the engine sheds. And there was, I think there was a little tunnel through there, and on the side of that tunnel was a staircase going up to that door, which went onto the balcony.
Oh, yeah.
So I would go up that, and there were times when I would come out of there and go onto the balcony and do stuff and walk up and down. So basically, it was a staircase going up to a little landing, and then the door out onto the balcony.
Oh, yeah. Must have been a pretty cool view standing up there, just seeing like a giant crowd and the trains going underneath you.
Yeah, it was quite. I remember it was quite a view when you get up there, and you look down and you see all these engines in front of you and all the people and everything. It was quite quite an impressive sight to see all that.
Yeah.
And it's all going around and things going on. It's like, wow.
I'm going back to something you said earlier. You said you were went to go see the trains during construction. Apparently, during construction, they went through multiple phases of trying to get the idea to work, and they used one of the first ideas was to use golf buggies with the trains' bodies mounted on them. Did you see the early versions, or was it just sort of later ones?
I don't remember. Well, the first time I saw them, they were mostly they were looking at faces, and I think there was the shell of Thomas there, and they were trying to fit them all together. I think that I don't remember much about the golf buggy thing, but I know that they tried a lot of different things to make it so that they would be like an engine and didn't look like a little thing bouncing along on wheels. So they end up basically building these kind of chassis with the wheels, a motor, and also motors that would turn the wheels.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen how it worked. But
Yeah.
2 front wheels, 2 back wheels, and they could turn, like this or like that. So if the engine had to go this way, you'd have both sets of wheels going that way.
Yeah.
If you wanted it to reverse, you'd have one set that way and the other set that way. So they had all these different settings for the wheels.
Yeah.
So that someone had to come up with that, and they did, and it worked.
Right.
But like I said, I think the first time they were trying some of these things out, it was like, not okay. We need to think about how to do this. Like get it to change onto a different piece of track and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was a fairly straightforward solution that you just had to remember which way to set the wheels each time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't drive it, but I remember when they're having sessions of testing it out with the drivers, and a lot of people going, "Oh my God, it's never going to work."
Oh, yeah.
But it did. It did.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I think we had a few problems with it. There was only one time I remember anything actually breaking down. Most of the time, it was all right. I think a couple of incidents when things got a bit stuck, but most of the time it was fine.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember? Would you like to say anything about the times anything went wrong?
There was one time when James did break down. I don't know what it was. Something got stuck, and basically he was stuck on stage.
Oh.
And he couldn't couldn't do
Is
it.
it?
So no one else can do anything because all the
Yeah.
voices obviously were recorded. So they couldn't. I couldn't have a conversation with him because he was,
Wait,
there's
did he get
nothing there.
stuck? Did he get stuck live, like during the show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. During the
Oh,
show,
oh no.
I don't know what happened. Maybe a wheel got stuck or something, or a brake got stuck.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it was. But basically, I had to kind of improvise dialogue as I was the only one there,
Oh yeah.
while they kind of got hold of him and gave him a push where it was to get him off.
Oh yeah.
And then he went off on his own eventually. I can't remember what it was. It was nothing too major. We could do the show afterwards. It was
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that got a bit stuck somewhere.
That would have been a panic.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, because we had a little earpiece, so we could hear what was going on, and people could talk to us as well. And I just had this voice saying, "Right, James is stuck. You need to improvise. On you go." So that was that, So that was luckily, I remembered because I knew a lot of the stories.
Oh yeah, true. That would have come in handy.
So yeah, so my previous experience of Thomas the Tank Engine was handy, and that I was able to talk to the children, and they remembered the stories that I was talking about, and I got away with it.
Thankfully you did, honestly. That really came in handy, your previous knowledge.
Yeah.
So after the tour ended, Thomas went to Buckingham Palace for the Queen's birthday. Were you the Fat Controller for that?
It was called Party at the Palace. Was it the Queen's birthday? Maybe it was.
Yeah, 80th birthday.
It was a children's party at the Palace, and it was the whole of I was there, and the whole of the gardens at Buckingham Palace have been decorated with different children's characters.
Yeah.
Beatrix Potter stories and Basil Brush and all kinds of things. And it's beautifully done. And Thomas the Tank Engine was there on one side, and he could go up and down about 10 foot of rail.
Yeah.
And I was dressed as the Fat Controller, and it was a fun occasion. Met the Queen briefly, said hello as you do, and yeah, it was a great day.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Did you come back for the 2006 tour?
Was that the third one?
Yeah, 2006.
I didn't do. No, I only did the first two.
Right.
What was the first? Thomas. I can't remember what they called. I get the names mixed up. Thomas the Big Live Tour.
Yeah, that was the first one, and the second one was the All Aboard Live Tour.
That's right. All Aboard. That's it. Yeah, I did those two.
Oh yeah. So what have you been up to since your work on Thomas?
Since then, well, once I'd done the second one, like I said, I was working at Disney, playing in bands, doing music stuff. There was mention of the third one, and I kind of mentioned it to people I was working for at Disney, and they're like, yeah, we're giving you more than enough time off, and it's understandable. I had my regular job with them, so I couldn't have really got away with it again. I mean, I was very lucky and grateful to them. They let me go away to do that, and they were happy I was doing it too. It was it was good for them too. But so then I went back to playing music there, and I carried on working there full time till about 2016.
Oh yeah.
And then I left, and I started doing part-time work for them, and other things outside, mostly kind of music. I do a lot of music teaching. Because I play a lot of instruments as well, like things like ukulele and banjo and guitar and mandolin, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of your work on YouTube. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah. I'm a lazy YouTuber. I don't put very much stuff like I need to put more stuff up there but I'm just I'm lazy and I'm busy at the moment because I've also got a small child myself. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm getting him ready to get into all the Thomas stuff.
Yeah, best way to start him off.
Yeah, so it's not huge in France. It's not very well known, but I have seen a few things around.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting about now how can children relate to a steam train. It's not something that's very... When they first came out, obviously steam trains were the normal mode of transport at the time.
Yeah. And that's like
now it's like
50, 60 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah. If children look at a steam train now, it's like, well, what is that? You show them a Thomas, and like, why is that an engine? That doesn't look like an engine.
Yeah, true.
But I think once they get into the whole thing, it just becomes natural.
Yeah. There's nothing really like it about these days, so brings a crowd.
Yeah. I mean, there's the kind of the steam railway enthusiasts. You can see them, but it's a bit. It's interesting that people still enjoy it, even if they don't really know what it is.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
One of the people I remember you saying something about the people we'd met. One of the people I met was the daughter of the guy who wrote the original books, Reverend Audrey.
Oh, yeah.
So I met his daughter, who was there with her family, because she came to see the show and she said she loved it, and that was nice. And I got her autograph. He was like, no, but I should be getting yours. I said, no, I should be getting yours.
Yeah. Damn.
I've got it on a flyer somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Have you kept anything from your time on the tour, the Thomas tours?
I used to have all sorts of bits and pieces, but I don't. I've moved house a few times since then.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I've kept. I think a lot of it would kind of just end up being chucked in corners. I had a few bits and pieces of the the lanyard things and cards and stuff. I did buy a bunch of Thomas books, which I still have somewhere, which was just regular Thomas stuff. I don't know if I have it. It'll be in a box in this cupboard behind me somewhere. But I did reduce a lot of my bits and pieces a while ago.
Ah, yeah.
But I know I do have somewhere the watch and chain and whistle that I use.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So it's an old I think it was my dad's old army watch, actually, a pocket watch.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that's so cool.
An old chain that I found somewhere, a watch chain. And on the other end, I had a whistle, which I think actually is an old Air Force whistle, possibly. But it's kind of got that old sound, not like high-pitched whistles of now. It's got the older sound.
Yeah.
So I used to blow it occasionally.
Right. A lanyard showed up on eBay a while back, a Thomas one. Wonder if it might have been yours at some point.
No, well, they had loads. They used to sell them in the merchandising, a little lanyard with a little book of cards on it of the trains and stuff.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what it was.
I did have one once. I don't know if I still have it, but I had. I need to see. I used to have my old Thomas ID card, which I'd have to wear all the time. But I don't know if I kept all those things. After a while, they just kind of self-destruct. But I'll have to look in my box of treasures and see if there's anything still in there.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send you pictures if I find anything.
Ah, thanks. Really appreciate that.
So did you see the show at some point?
No. I was born right after the third one ended. Apparently, it was going to come to. It was apparently going to come to Australia, but that just never happened. I guess would have been cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Well, the financial commitment was huge, and Dan Coleman, who produced the show, he pretty much put his life on the line for it. And it was a very expensive show to put on, a very expensive show to keep going as well. A lot of people involved in it, a lot of expense on it. And he was a very, very brave man. And I think he'd about covered his costs out of it. I hope. I would like to ask, really.
Shame the tour had to end, but yeah, it's really cool.
The other part, not only was it expensive doing it and running it, it's also expensive sticking it somewhere. Because when you were touring it, there was 10 trucks worth of stuff to be looked after.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, of finding somewhere to keep it, and for them to be kept in good condition. Because obviously the shell that was the engine, which was a kind of fiberglassy kind of stuff, but more complicated than that, was polished to such a degree that it was absolutely shiny, like they should be. And it was absolute priority was to not get them dirty or not scratch them, because you would see it a mile off, especially under the lights, as they were forever cleaning it and polishing all the hand marks off it and everything. So storing that was very, very difficult.
Yeah. Edmund.
Yeah.
Ed mentioned that when moving the trains, like the trucks they were put in, like they had like sponges and foams all over the trains, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't get scratched or anything.
Yeah. People
Yeah.
wore gloves when they moved them and everything.
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
Because it wasn't like they could just make another one.
Yeah. True. True.
I think they could repair. I think one time one of them did get a bit squished through some accident, and they could
Yeah.
repair it, but it was difficult making it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's certainly the style of that kind of stuff, whether it's from the video or in the pictures. The style was very kind of block color, very
Yeah.
smooth, very clean. Any kind of dirt or scratching would just wouldn't look right.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Interesting enough. You mentioned it being really expensive to store the trains and stuff. Apparently, after the last tour ended, it was all just sold off to the merchandising company, and they just kind of kept it around.
Quite, but I really don't know what happened at the end. Like I said, I wasn't around then.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are all sorts of ideas about it going to Japan or being put on something else or used in displays and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, it's never simple. There are a lot of companies that were involved in the show, and people with the rights and people with the show rights and entertainment and so on and so forth. So everyone, I guess, had their idea about what should be done with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they found any kind of solution in the end. I think they just it was just sent off somewhere. And from what I've seen from your site, it looks like it was just kind of left. I don't know.
Yeah. Percy and James have been sold off to a recycling center, and everything else has
Right.
just been left at a abandoned airbase thing, and it's in pretty bad shape now, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think there would be. I don't know if there'd be much to recycle in them, to be honest. I don't think
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I guess maybe if it was plasticky, it might do, but it's the sad fact of a lot of things, and it happens with films and stuff as well. That
Yeah.
all that stuff looks great when you see it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you finish using it, it's just a pile of stuff.
Yeah. Shame.
And what can you do with it?
Yeah. Like, this stuff's pretty complicated. Yeah, so it's kind of difficult to make use for it anymore.
I think that the problem also with it was that the faces were quite delicate.
Yeah.
And they were even more paranoid about getting them dirty because you just couldn't really clean them because they were this kind of special kind of rubber
Yeah.
sponge. And I think that they eventually, I expect after 3 tours, I know after 2, they were starting to have little kind of wrinkles and
Yeah.
had to be made up and looked after. And I don't think they would have lasted very long at all.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you would have ended up with just the fiberglass shell and the trolley
Yeah.
underneath. So I don't know what they could have done with them, even if they'd wanted to, because I think that
Yeah.
they would have just decayed away anyway.
Yeah. So that's honestly don't really. That's basically all my questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great to talk to you. Glad to see you.
Hi.
And it's a shame you never saw the show, but I guess you've seen some of the videos and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can certainly say out from all my questions and stuff, it's an interesting idea putting something like that was so small. It was like a small book, and then it was
Right.
a TV show, a small TV, and then putting that on a stage and to make it life size almost
Yeah.
is like a monumental thing.
Yeah.
And it's really quite an achievement that Dan and Ian and all those guys did to make that come to life. It was really quite something.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
obviously, I didn't have the financial worries that they had, but it was certainly, if you had any doubts about it, when you saw the children and the reactions, even from the adults, I was just like, wow, when they saw the thing come out, and when Thomas first went out into the set, just the cheer, like,
Hi.
that kind of, like I said, I didn't have the financial investment in it, but it was
Yeah.
certainly made it worthwhile just to hear that sound,
Yeah.
Well, I was glad I got to do 2 of them, and I hope that the people who saw them have memories of them.
No, it's clearly left a pretty big imprint in people's memory, considering the fact of you know, how many people like care about it still. But yeah.
We're still very popular.
Oh yeah.
It reinvents itself with every generation. Um, and I think it's amazing like I say, it's amazing that show happened and it went around. It was just an amazing thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they certainly spent a lot of money getting it right. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's like jumps right out of the TV screen pretty much.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think there was no doubt about whether people were going to accept seeing it like this, having seen it on TV. The kids saw it. That's Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tremendous work. Like really. Yeah. Thank you so much for like talking to me.
No problem.
Like, yeah, it's really cool that you got to be the Fat Controller and you know make all these memories with kids and everything.
Yeah. It was an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Very glad to have done it. Very happy and very grateful to everyone who involved in it.
It's a very monumental thing.
Yeah.
Monumental. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks so much for talking to me. Yeah, I guess I'll be off now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling. I didn't realize you were in Australia, as you said. I can hear the nightlife in the background, unless that's the computer making noises. I suppose it's the middle of the night for you, is it?
Almost. It's 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, 8 o'clock at night. Okay, I thought it was a bit later than that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
well, good to see you.
Same to you too, really. Yeah, see you, Percy.
Take care and have a good time.
Goodbye.
Bye.